The last time we saw Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes, they choked a 29-point lead against Stanford. So they definitely needed a bye week to go back and hit the drawing board and reevaluate themselves. Now they're back and they're going on the road to the Rose Bowl, which is sold out, by the way, and they're playing up against a really good UCLA team. UCLA is a 17-point favorite in this game, and I understand why. UCLA has the second best defense in the Pac-12 this year, right behind Utah. There's nothing that this defense can't do. They're really good against the run. They're really good against the pass. They got a solid secondary, and they got a really good pass rush. When we look at Colorado, we know what has been the biggest limitation with this offense. The fact that this offensive line can't block Deion Sanders to save their freaking life. And you wonder how this offensive line is going to perform against a really good front seven of UCLA. Now, UCLA secondary is pretty solid, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to be able to shut down this receiving core. They're not going to be able to shut down Xavier Weaver, Jimmy Horn, and especially Travis Hunter. The thing is that is Deion Sanders going to have enough time to go to work on that Bruins secondary? This is the most healthiest that Colorado has been all season long. Even going into their week 1 win against TCU, the guys that they have healthy now weren't healthy back then. Like Alt McCaskill at running back. I would love to see Alt McCaskill get at least 13 to 15 touches in this game because I think that he's the most talented running back that Colorado has on their roster. When you look at what he did his freshman season in 2021 at Houston, he had 16 touchdowns. He was averaging 5 yards per carry as a freshman. And then the brief glimpses that we've seen out of Alt McCaskill when he has gotten some reps in game, he's looked really impressive. It's just that they just tend to get away from him. I definitely think that we need to see more out of Alt McCaskill in this game if Colorado's going to be able to pull off this win. The run game has been a little bit better for Colorado. In their last couple of matchups, they have been able to run the football at times. Still not as effectively as what you would like to see, but the run game has been there. And if you're going to beat UCLA, you can't be a one-dimensional team. Now, we know that this team is going to be led by Deion Sanders, and he's going to have to play well. But at the same time, you're still going to have to be able to run the football to give him a little bit of a breather. I don't think this is one of those games that Colorado's going to be able to win just by airing the football out, because a large reason why their offensive line struggles is because these defensive lines are able to pin their ears back and just go after the quarterback because they know that you're no threat to run the football. Therefore, they don't have to fear you running the football. If you can run the football in this game, then you make the defense think twice. Now they got to think, okay, like, are they going to run it or are they going to pass? They just can't pull their ears back and just play the pass all game long. So I definitely think Alt McCaskill could be a really big part of getting that run game going against a really good UCLA front. Now, when you look at Colorado's defense against UCLA's offense, I mean, it's a mismatch. But anytime Colorado's defense is on the field, it looks like a mismatch. Now, UCLA, they're not extremely talented at wide receiver. So I would be extremely surprised if whoever starts at quarterback for UCLA is just dotting up this Colorado secondary. Because UCLA, they got a couple of good wide receivers, but they're not insanely deep at wide receiver like how USC and Oregon were. But even then, when you have a secondary that's been as bad as what Colorado's has been, you can make even average wide receivers look better than what they truly are. Now, Colorado doesn't know who the hell is going to be playing quarterback for UCLA this week. Previously, Dante Moore was starting at quarterback for the Bruins up until last week against Stanford, where Chip Kelly said that he wasn't healthy enough to play, and they started Ethan Garbers, and Ethan Garbers played really well. And Chip Kelly, in his press conference, when he was discussing this game and breaking this game down in detail, he said that he believes that they have 3 quarterbacks on this roster that are good enough to start on the majority of teams in Power 5 football this year. That not only includes Ethan Garbers and Dante Moore, but also Colin Schlee, who also is listed on the injury report. But whoever plays quarterback for UCLA is going to force Colorado to have to switch things up defensively. If Dante Moore comes in, you could play a little bit more aggressively, because Dante Moore, outside of the first couple of games of this year where they were playing against inferior competition, he hasn't looked that good. He struggled to take care of the football, and this offense has been anemic with him in that quarterback because he's a true freshman quarterback. He was playing high school around this time last year, so there's a lot of growing pains that comes with starting a young quarterback like Dante Moore. And if you're Chip Kelly, do you really want to risk throwing Dante Moore out there in a game like this, where Colorado is one of those teams that offensively, if you give them extra possessions, they're going to make you pay? Now, if you start Ethan Garbers, you don't have the dual threat ability that Dante Moore has. And Colorado's pass rush, although it isn't great, they do have a tendency to be able to get pressure on the quarterback at times. All right, it's not like this pass rush is non-existent. They can get a little bit of pressure on you here or there, just not as consistently as what you would like. So with Dante Moore in there at quarterback, you get somebody who's going to be able to make things happen when things start to break down in the pocket. Ethan Garbers, I don't think he has the same amount of mobility as a guy like Dante Moore has, which kind of is an advantage for Colorado, because then your defensive ends don't have to worry about staying in contain and worrying about the quarterback getting outside and making things happen. When you have a guy who's more so of a pocket passer, it makes things a little bit easier on the defense, because then you don't have to worry about, a quarterback breaking outside the pocket and picking up like 10, 15 yards with his legs. Now, if Dante Moore does start, however, over Ethan Garbers, you can be a little bit aggressive, because there's a lot of looks that you could throw at Dante Moore that he may not be prepared for. And anytime he gets pressure sent after him, he panics. And that's what you expect out of a young quarterback. I think Ethan Garbers, being a more calm and a more experienced quarterback, gives UCLA a better chance to have more success offensively than what Dante Moore does. Now, Dante Moore, he shouldn't struggle in this game. If he does start, he probably will have a couple of turnovers here and there. But for the most part, with how Colorado's defense has played, this shouldn't be a performance that he had against Washington State or in the past when UCLA has gone up against a really good defense, because Colorado doesn't have a really good defense. I think a large reason why we've seen Dante Moore struggle up to this point this season in his last couple of games that he's appeared in is because UCLA has played against some of the best defenses in the Pac-12. If he starts in this game, this definitely could be one of those games where he could get his confidence back. But if you start Ethan Garbers, I think it gives you a better chance to win, just because you're going to be more efficient at taking care of the football, and I think your passing attack can be really good with Ethan Garbers. Now, Colorado, I think we need to see more of Kamani McLean. And Buffalo fans keep going back and forth with me on this. Listen, I get that Kamani McLean, he may be showing up the meetings not on time, and he may not have the best practice habits, but at the same time, there's no way you can throw out number 23 again after how he got cooked by Stanford. And the other cornerback they got, number 3, Amarian Cooper, I don't really think he's that better. The best cornerback that Colorado has on their team is Travis Hunter. Outside of him, any other cornerback is a liability to get beat, even though they are going against a UCLA team that only really has 1 or 2 good wide receivers, and they're not as deep as Oregon or USC. When you have an average wide receiving core going up against a below average secondary, the average receiving core is going to look better more times than not because of the bad secondary play that Colorado has had this season. For Colorado, we need to see Kamani McLean play some significant snaps in this game. I think that Kamani McLean most definitely is the second best cornerback on this team. He got benched against Arizona State after a couple of bad snaps and a couple of bad plays, but number 23 can get cooked all game long against Stanford and not have to worry about getting taken out of the bench. That makes no sense for me. And another thing that I need to see out of Colorado is that you wonder, how disciplined is Colorado going to be? Because at the start of this season, when they were 3-0, they didn't really have a lot of penalties. They didn't beat themselves. Well, since they kind of went on this little bit of a cold streak, you had all kinds of dumb penalties like too many men on the field, illegal substitution. Colorado can't be stepping on their toes in this game. They need to get back to being a fundamentally sound team, being able to, not beat themselves up in the foot, being able to figure out how to limit the costly penalties, and also being a team that has emotional discipline and emotional composure. Shedeur Sanders is really the only player on this team that is composed in tough situations. Everybody else seems to have these costly penalties, like Travis Hunter and their loss against Stanford had like a dumb penalty that kind of put Colorado in a little bit of a bind. I think it was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Like, Colorado needs to do a better job at learning how to play emotional. They need to do a better job at learning how to play emotionally, but being able to control that emotion. Football is an emotional game. We get that. But at the same time, having emotional composure is key to being able to beat a top 25 team like UCLA. UCLA, they're not a team that's going to beat you by having all kinds of undisciplined penalties that Colorado has been prone to have in their losses. So the team I'm going to take to win this game, I'm going with the Buffs. And this may be a surprise to you, but UCLA, they're a solid football team. But I definitely think that Colorado, them coming off a bye, them being the most healthiest that they have been all season, you're going to be able to go up against a team that offensively, they're not as deep as USC and Oregon. And I know Stanford didn't really have a good offense because they got shut down by UCLA, but I just think that's a game that Colorado let get away from them. I don't think we're going to see the same thing happen against UCLA. I think this is going to be a team that's going to be more focused. They're going to be locked in. They're coming off a bye week, and UCLA, their defense is going to keep them in this game. But if this ends up being a high-scoring affair, I like Colorado to walk away with it. They just have so much more talent on offense than what UCLA has. The only advantage that I think UCLA really has offensively in this game, when you're comparing the two offenses, is that they got a better offensive line, and Carson Steele is one of the better running backs in the Pac-12. That's just about it. I think that Colorado is better and deep at wide receiver than UCLA. They obviously have the quarterback advantage in Shedeur Sanders, and anytime you have the quarterback advantage in the majority of games that you play in, you're going to have a chance to win as long as Colorado can give Shedeur Sanders time to throw the football. And that's going to be really tough to do against a really good UCLA defense, but I don't think UCLA's defense is deep enough or talented enough just to shut down and hold this Colorado offense down like how Oregon was able to do, or how USC was able to do in the first half when they played. So give me the Buffs to win. 38-27 is my final score prediction for this ball game.